Good evening. Welcome to Expat Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Here at Expat Insights, we take external views of the internal successes by foreigners, expats, and immigrants who have made Philippines their home and are doing well either in business or society. Tonight, we are honored as usual. Our guest is from Malaysia, and we also have a guest from the Philippines. Both of these gentlemen are in the business of workplace learning, also used to be known as corporate training. And this program tonight is really a continuation of last week's program when we had Dr. William Rothwell and Dr. Maribel Aglipay, who also discussed the same topic. And both the guests and lots of viewers thought that we should continue this same topic. That's why tonight we have people from the same industry who are supporting learning in the country and in the region. My first guest, the chairman of ARTDO, which is the Asian Region for Training and Development Organization International. It's ARTDO International. Dato Thomas Chee, also the chairman of a company called ITD. My second guest, the president of ARTDO, Asian Regional Training and Development Organization, Sir Turok, Arthur Turok Florentin, former president of PSTD. So welcome, Paul. Welcome to Expat Insights, Dato and Sir Turok.
Good evening, Raju.
So before we start talking about our subject matter today, let's just get to know you a bit. Maybe Dato can tell us about himself, that how has he accomplished such a wonderful journey in this profession, in this discipline up to now.
Thank you, Raju.
Yes, sir.
I have always been very impressed with the people in Philippines. My first contact is way back in 1959 when I was Eagle Scout, King Scout. I was selected to attend the 10th World Jamboree in Mount Makiling, Los Banes.
Oh, Mount Makiling, yeah.
Mount Makiling. And from then on until now, I came back about a few years ago at the invitation of your Vice President, Mr. Brinay, who is currently the chairman of the Philippine Scouts. And I was very impressed. After 50 years, I've seen much progress. And also I've seen the development of Philippines. But in the past, the Philippines used to be one of the tigers of Asia. Very successful. Okay. And now I can see that there is a recovery of the past, in the sense that it is now reinforced further that the growth is about to take place, big growth. Okay, so this is my confidence in the Philippines. In the early days, I learned songs like Bahaya Kubu, Leron Leron Sinta. Now I learn new song. You know what's the song?
No, sir.
Yeah. You know what's the song?
What's the song?
Bayanko.
Bayanko. Bayan.
Yeah. So
well, many people think that the tiger that the Philippines was in the past, it never became a non-tiger. It just took a rest for a few years. It's waking up again. That's the belief of many people. Sir Turok, tell us a bit about yourself and the profession you are in, or the life that you live.
Well, I have been in human resource management field for around 33 years.
Right.
And 31 years of it was in Manila Electric Company.
Meralco.
And I was particularly with human resource development, which is actually corporate training.
Right, yeah. Well, the synonyms for it, yeah? Yes, sir. And today you are the president of ARTDO. So maybe before we go about talking about the subject matter of corporate training or workplace learning, tell us about ARTDO. What is ARTDO?
Well, ARTDO, it's ARTDO International, and it's actually an organization or a federation of associations of training and development. Like, for example, the Philippine Society for Training and Development is affiliated with ARTDO, also the Australian Institute of Training and Development, and others from different countries.
Or in the region.
It's an organization of training and development practitioners that comes from different areas in the world. It's an Asian organization with an international presence.
Oh, very good. All right. And we are going to have a major event in November in Cebu. So we'll talk about that at the end of the show. You
Yes.
are going to lead us into that. No, you're going to tell us all about it. Now, tonight's subject matter, Dato, is corporate training. No? And I don't know if it's the right term today because things change and perceptions about discipline change. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cue in last week's episode, just 1 or 2 minutes of it, so to get us on track about the subject matter. And it's, of course, with Dr. Rothwell and Dr. Aglipay. So can we cue in that little video that I put in? Dr. Rothwell is an author of 79 books, and he's still counting. So if he comes back here next year, he might probably hit 89. So Dr. Rothwell, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I entered the field that we formerly called training in 1979, and I'm currently a professor at Penn State University in the U.S., and there I head up a graduate program in training and development and organization development, and I've been there for 21 years. Prior to that, I was an HR professional working in the insurance industry and then in the government, both in training and development roles. So I'm one of the rare people in the academic community who had 20 years of work experience in the field before I became a professor.
The subject matter, Dr. Rothwell, of training and development and organizational development, in layman's terms, and for the person on the street, what does that mean?
Well,
is it education? Is it high school? Is it college? Is it, what is it?
A frequent question is, what's the difference between education and training?
Right, sir.
In fact, one time I was invited to testify in front of a legislative body when I was working in the government, and the question was, why does the agency need training when most of the people you hire are college graduates?
Right.
So the assumption being that college trains you. Well, no, it doesn't. College gives you very broad knowledge, but the professors have no idea in what setting or context or corporate culture in which you're going to be asked to apply that knowledge, and sometimes that makes a big difference. For example, I was a training director in an agency that did audits of government entities, and we hired accounting majors from the universities. Unfortunately, none of them had had government accounting, which is quite different from traditional private sector accounting. So consequently, we had to do quite a bit of internal training on fund accounting in order to teach people with college degrees a completely different view of the accounting field. So training is like a laser beam. It's very focused on helping people become qualified for their jobs, stay qualified for their jobs, and prepare for advancement into more responsible positions within the context of a specific company culture.
Or a profession or job.
Or profession.
So thus, specialized knowledge.
Yes.
Relevant to the job, to the industry. Not just knowledge, but knowledge, skills, and attitude towards that job or that function.
So you need both. Education gives you the basics. Training makes it very specific to a particular job, a particular company, a particular management value system and belief system.
Clear. So, good. So it's still me here. Good. So that was last week, and this discussion today here with Dato Thomas Chee and Sir Turok is a piggyback on the discussion last week. So Dato and Sir Turok, that is the issue that we're talking about, and let's build on that today. No? The three things, just so that I bring you up to speed, that Dr. Rothwell mentioned about training, or what the CEO expects from training are these three. Number one, he said, trainers, or the people who do the facilitation, should not do training needs analysis. Why? Because they will be biased towards what content or strategy they must employ. So somebody else must discover the gaps and the needs, and the trainers must provide the content or the solution for that. That was one. The second thing he mentioned is that trainers should not do their own evaluation. Because again, they will be biased towards their own performance. It should be a third-party evaluation. Somebody else should tell me or you that how you did, rather than I'm conducting my own evaluation. So two things. The third thing Dr. Rothwell mentioned was that trainers should just become great facilitators. They should focus on content and delivery. These were the three things that Dr. Rothwell thought CEOs expect from corporate training or from workplace learning. So, opinion in your form.
Well, I think he was saying that because what is really important is to connect training or learning to business results.
Correct.
And therefore, you will be able to align that if you have a very, very objective way of identifying the learning gaps and how the learning gaps were addressed.
Correct, yeah.
And so he was saying that trainers should focus more on the content and the delivery, because that is precisely what will build performance. And
the quality
performance
of the
and
transaction will improve.
Yeah.
Dr. Thomas Chee, your experience, I mean, you have much more experience than Dr. Rothwell in this industry.
What is it that you have in mind?
No, the question is that the three things were that the trainer should not do the needs analysis, should not do the feedback. Yeah.
Actually, I don't quite like the word trainer or training.
Correct, yeah.
In the past, we say we only train animals. We coach people.
Correct.
We develop people. So we are known as human developers, human capital development. You know, in the past, people say you are training people.
Yeah.
You know. So the whole question now is skills development needs human developers. Okay. And to develop skills, you need a different set of skills to develop people.
Right.
Much emphasis today has been focused on academic qualification.
Academic foundation,
Yes.
yeah.
You look at a country like Taiwan, for instance.
Yes, sir.
In the 60s, it used to be very, very low productivity. And because they introduced skills development, technology, you can see Taiwan today is one of the leading tigers in Asia.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is one great example. Another one is Singapore, because they emphasize a lot on human development. Okay. So the key is how to unleash the human resources to the fullest capacity. That is the master key. Education is the key.
Right.
But the master key is how you develop the skills of the people who can effectively contribute to national development.
So development of the whole being, the whole
Correct.
human, rather
Correct.
than a certain aspect of him or her, no?
Yes, but development doesn't encompasses only employees or corporate or CEOs. It encompasses the public sector, which is actually the biggest employer. Okay, it encompasses the youth. The youth of today are the ministers and the leaders of tomorrow.
Right.
Are we also doing something for the youth development rather than just only looking after corporate profits?
So a much bigger and a bigger,
very wide,
all-encompassing picture about learning, about improving or development.
Unleashing human potential.
Okay, let's take a little break on that word, unleashing human potential, and we'll come back and figure out how to do this or how to participate in this environment. Okay, Dato Chee? All right. Let's take that 1 minute break and we'll come back and talk to Dato Thomas Chee and to Sir Turok Florentin of Ardo. Good evening. Welcome back to Expert Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. We are talking about what the CEO expects from corporate training, and I was just corrected by my guest, Dato Thomas Chee, saying that not corporate training, but unleashing human potential, and now they're going to give us ideas and strategies on how to achieve that or fulfill that for the world big picture. Dr. Thomas, continue from unleashing human potential, and you mentioned Taiwan and Singapore. So give us more.
Recently, I came to know that in France, they value experiential learning. Whatever experience you have is equated, and a group of very high-level evaluators will ask questions of the individual. So I have a friend of mine. he was very active. He's currently also very active in scouting, international
Right.
scouting. And he attended the interview, and he had 15 years of scouting leadership experience.
Right.
After being interviewed thoroughly over many days
By these
by
enlightened
these
individuals.
yes,
Okay.
he was totally surprised. He was given a master's degree,
Okay.
recognized by the government of
Fantastic.
France,
Mhm.
which means they are very practical.
Hmm.
In the sense they value the practical experience
Mhm.
and the skills of
Mm.
the individual.
Thus, let me try and rephrase that. You're saying that formal education, certification, diplomas are not necessary currently in France. Yeah, they're not demanded. Thus, if you have experience, they have ways and means of assessing your competencies and awarding you a certain title based on that. So somebody like Bill Gates never went to
Yes.
school. Steve Jobs never went to school.
That's the
Would be
point.
given a postgraduate
PhD.
degree or a doctorate for their performance in life and in work, in development.
Sure.
Wow, it's
And-
okay.
And those who have the highest marks are now his employees,
Yeah, of course.
working for the boss.
Double doctorates are with him. Sir Turok po, yung mga local lang perspective on that.
I think to a certain extent.
That's a very
we
good
are
point, by the way,
To a certain extent, we are also applying that in terms of experience equivalency. That, for example, some of our non-elementary or high school graduates can actually apply for an equivalency and they can be given
Here in the
a diploma.
Philippines?
Yes.
And who
Yes.
does that? What department?
The Department of Education.
Oh, DepEd does that.
Yeah.
Upper
And
level.
of course, also in the tertiary level, in the college level or postgraduate level, SIDE is doing that. They are accrediting certain experiences through portfolio assessment, and then they will credit certain units which you can earn towards.
Tell us a bit more about this. I didn't know this about SIDE doing this.
But you're
Yeah, I'm
with
a SIDE affiliate and I'm a SIDE
Mhm.
romantic, but I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Continuing education unit,
they'll
right?
interview you and then you'll submit some of your
Yeah.
outputs,
Mhm.
and then they can credit
Yeah.
that to some of the subjects that you will be taking for masteral or doctoral degree.
I need to go get that assessment, you know.
Yeah.
We've been busy doing stuff with SIDE rather than doing that.
And then you can fast track your education.
I need to do that. I just remembered something many years ago when I applied for a U.S. visa and I was applying for a permanent residency at that time. They asked me to submit my credentials, my work performance, and I had 2 bachelor's degrees and a lot of work experience at that time.
Yes.
They awarded me an ME way back then. They certified it as an ME. So I think U.S. also does it, but in special cases, unlike
But
France.
it's actually continuing education units in U.S.
The U.S.
They have been
ME.
doing it for some time. Yeah.
So, Dr. Thomas, now tell us, how do we make the most out of this? How do we nourish the aspect, the discipline of unleashing human potential when we personally have to participate in rather than letting nature take its course?
First of all, you have to do, each country will have to do its own situational analysis. The first question they have to ask is to diagnose where are you today? Where's the country today?
Right.
Where's the organization today?
Mhm.
So they call it diagnostic. Second, where do you want to go?
As a country.
As a country, as a company, as an
learning
organization,
profession.
including individuals as well.
Okay.
The next step is how you're going to get there, methodology. Okay. Then how do you make sure you're getting there? How do you evaluate? You set up checkpoints. You know. So each individual, each organization, each country needs to do this for improvement. Because if a country does not change, it's going backwards. So I like to stress the point that the law of change states. It applies to individual, it applies to a company, it applies to a country. It states the law of change. If you do not actively move forward, you are automatically going backwards. Be it education, organizational development, society,
Right.
NGOs,
Anything. Any
Anything.
field, in fact, no?
individuals too. You see, I have to learn computers for my grandchildren. You see, there's no such thing. They say, oh, I'm old, I've taken more salt than rice. I'm much better than you. Today, totally, the world has changed. Are we be able to cope with the change? Because if we don't innovate, we will evaporate. That's the key.
That's right. If you do not continually learn, then you'll be left behind.
Sure.
Yeah.
100% sure.
I want to mention this now that you mentioned country and performance, no? The Malaysian ambassador was on this chair where you're sitting a year ago, and he told me, he said, Raju, when I sit here and I work, talk to you, my country has KPIs on my performance. They are watching me right now. So even ambassadors go through that process of monitoring their progress and development, no?
Key result area is actually a tool used to measure performance versus the standard you set. And the variance becomes areas for improvement. It's called a KRA, key result area. So every organization needs to do situational analysis, including the individual. For instance, you ask an individual, do you know exactly where you want to go? Most of the people will not know. I'm surprised. I asked some graduates, what is it that your plan? I'm not too sure.
So they have dreams. They have, which are pipe dreams. They're not really dreams because they don't have a set plan or a measurable method to achieve that personal goal, no?
It starts from the individual, then you have the organizational goals as well.
Because there is
so the song goes, if you do not know where you're going, do you know where you're going to? It's a basic question.
Do you know that's who?
Do you know where you're going to? That song? Beautiful song.
That's Donna Summers or somebody, isn't that? Do you know where you're going? That's an old song.
But you'll be surprised, 98% or 95% of people don't know where they want to go. That's why many of the people don't achieve
communities,
success.
organizations, and countries.
Many people don't achieve success.
Sir Turok, I understand. This is inside information. PSTD is attempting to do what Dato is talking about right now. So can you give us a picture of what PSTD is doing today to the learning organization in the Philippines or to the country?
PSTD, or the Philippine Society for Training and Development,
Perfect. Thank you.
is now actually shifting from focus on training and development to workplace learning and performance. Because training and development, the connotation is more on classroom training.
Yeah, like he said, for animals and dogs and lions and tigers.
And the tendency is that we count the number of trainees, the number of training programs, rather than the effect of training or learning on the performance of the organization. So by shifting to workplace learning and performance, then we are saying that we would like to look at performance as a result of learning. And we would like to facilitate learning right in the workplace where it is needed. So training just becomes one of the many interventions that can be used. There are several other interventions, especially those that can be used right in the workplace.
Would you give us examples on what we can do? I know Dr. Rothwell mentioned here on the job training, off-the-job training, and many other. Could you recommend, could you cite cases of what else we are doing
Like, I don't know
and
if
can do?
I don't know if you already mentioned coaching and mentoring.
Dr. Rothwell did not, no, but you have the space to do it.
So coaching and mentoring can be done right in the workplace, where the supervisor or manager can coach their subordinates so that they'll be able to perform better work. And another intervention can be job aids. Job aids are props or forms that can be used so that it aids the performer in doing his work. Like, for example, a form can be formatted so that as the person accomplishing the form is doing it, he is also performing the task already. He is guided into the process of performing the task because of the form. Or there are several aids also that, for example, a reminder on what to do, like charts or diagrams.
So cite me a living example. For example, if I was a welder, which is technical training, no? So what would be the example of a job aid to a welder? What would be the template that would improve his performance as a welder?
You mentioned the template. A template can actually be a job aid. Like for example, for a welder, it will be hard to weld two pieces without supporting structures. So a template can already shape what he's doing as he is performing work.
The camera person here, well, he's doing a great job as it is, no? What can a learning professional do to improve his performance? I'm sure there's space for improvement, no? Could you visualize a method?
Well,
or
one job aid that can be used, I don't know if they're using it, can be some checklists. So that as he is preparing for his job, he has a checklist of what to do, what is it that he should prepare, so that he is well prepared when they
so
start
lights,
shooting.
camera,
Yes.
action,
Yes.
the size of the frame, the color behind, the color in front. That would be his focus, and that would be a checklist. Fantastic, no? So that's one area, creating job aids. Coaching and mentoring is others. No, anything else?
Well, there are some other interventions, like for example, open space technology.
What is that? Enlighten me.
It is something that facilitates a small or large groups of people to interact and discuss certain issues so that they will be able to make decisions related to a certain theme. So actually an open space technology is a marketplace of ideas where the participants themselves surface the issues and opportunities that can be discussed. And then they can group together, discuss them, but it is also guided by certain principles and what we call the law of 2 feet. The law of 2 feet means as people discuss, and there are several groups discussing, the participant can join one group or join another group depending on his feeling whether he is able to contribute to the discussion or learning from the discussion.
By commonplace language is brainstorming.
It's brainstorming but on a large scale.
Yeah, commonplace is brainstorming. That you and I sit together and we talk about a few ideas, and we have no assessments or no judgments before we come up with ideas. No? But when you take OST, as in the open space technology, so it's an enlarged version, much more comprehensive. And so what are the benefits or the outputs of such a technology?
You know, by doing it in just half a day or a day, you can already generate a lot of ideas. And what is most important is it does not stop during the open space meeting, but it continues because it creates a lot of commitment among the participants.
Because the individual mind and the organizational mind is continuously learning, no matter what, no? Dato Chee, you're looking at your notes. Did you want to cite some examples in the industry? No, you were looking at your notes. So is there something that you want to cite in relevance to what we're discussing?
Let me see. I'd like to stress to all the graduates, those people who go for academic qualification, that he who graduates today stops learning tomorrow is uneducated the following day.
One more time. He who graduates today
stops learning tomorrow.
Stops learning tomorrow.
Is uneducated the following day.
Or becomes illiterate the next day because he stops learning.
Yeah.
Am I right? Illiterate is the right word, or uneducated? Uneducated is there's a difference between the two words.
So continuous lifelong learning, you know, is very important. Otherwise, we become like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I must mention this, no? Dr. Aglipay, who was here last week on the same chair that you're sitting, and before I invited her on this show, she said, Raju, I might not do well.
Why?
That was her statement, and my response to her was that there's a 50% chance that you'll do well, there's a 50% chance you'll mess up, but there's a 100% chance that you will learn.
That's right.
She loved it, no?
We always learn from experience. From
So no matter what, either from failure or from success, in between the process, we're always learning. So that's a new trend today. Oh, let's not call it a trend. That should be the future of learning.
Learning by doing.
Learning by doing,
Experiential
learning by
learning.
living,
Yes, yes.
learning all the time.
Yeah,
That's
right.
right.
Continuously.
Learning all the time.
your life.
Until you go to heaven or not.
Actually, that's also one of the reasons why we're
Correct.
shifting from training and development to workplace learning,
Yeah.
because there is continuous learning right in the workplace.
Oh, well, I will-
You cannot learn as much from a 1 day or even a 3 day.
So it rests on us, workplace learning professionals, to create that panahon, that environment constantly, and to observe and acknowledge the transfer or acquiescence of knowledge and wisdom. Is that a good wrap-up?
That's right.
Okay, so on that note, let's take one more break. Yeah? Let's take one more break, and then we'll come back, and you can tell us about what you're doing in November in Cebu, both of you. So we are with Dr. Dato Thomas Chee and Sir Turok Florentin of Ardo. Let's take a 1-minute break and come back and talk to them about the future of learning and what they're doing in Cebu 2 months from now. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Please stay watching. Good evening. Welcome back to Expert Insights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. We are with Dato Thomas Chee and Sir Turok Florentin of Ardo. And if you were watching the show before the break, we talked about continuous learning. That means learning all the time. So during the break, I keep saying doctor. It's Dato Thomas
I'm
Chee.
doctor.
You're a Dato Dr. Thomas Chee mentioned that he wanted to quickly share examples of IBM and Intel. So you want to tell us quickly, without really pointing a finger at any one of them?
Coping with change.
Yes, sir.
If you do not change effectively, you you may be wiped out. An example, IBM was a great international organization
In the 80s,
in the 80s and
70s, yeah.
and it cost millions to buy a computer and takes up a lot of space, and the computers are all in blue.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
The big
suddenly
blue, yeah.
Intel came up with a small computer, portable computer, and that downsized IBM, and they got a big shock. So this is a question of coping with change.
Right.
Of course, recently IBM has adapted itself and it's changed to adapt to the new condition, and now they are coming up again. So just imagine, a new organization has literally almost affected IBM
Yeah.
so seriously.
Wait, so a little concern for me, no? In the beginning of the show, we talked about Philippines being a tiger,
Yeah.
then sleeping, and
In
then
the past,
waking up.
yes.
Waking up. Now you're saying IBM was a tiger, it went to sleep, and it's waking up, no?
Yes, yes.
And still we are talking about that the performance should be at a certain par, the growth should be consistent. Yet there are cycles in this, no? Because learning cannot be a certain level, a certain percentage, or the same depth all the time, no? So why do we sometimes insist that above performance should be above par all the time? Below par also there is learning, so IBM was probably learning during these days. What is your thought about that, Sir Turo?
Yeah, I think that happens because sometimes when we learn, there comes a point in time that we think we know everything already.
Right, okay, so we
And
reach
then
a
when
peak.
we think we know everything already, we stop learning, and then our performance go down.
So
But
IBM,
this should waken us up so that we should continue learning again, and then it should bring us up again.
so if we were to expand the open space technology, make it universally open, it would be like day and night.
That's right.
Yeah, work hard, go to sleep, work hard, go to sleep for 10 years and 20 years, no?
And in fact, talking about continuous learning, we cannot do it through isolated training or programs, but we should be doing it within the workplace where we can create a learning environment. Because if there's a learning environment, then people can learn from everything that they are doing.
So thus it brings me, what rises in my mind is, what should leaders do? How should leaders innovate in this discipline, in this area? Dato, what are your ideas on that?
We need leaders at all levels, from the youth level, corporate level, government level. We need all. But what is leadership? Yeah? Leadership is nothing but influence. The ability to tell, the ability to sell ideas. That's to to be an effective leader. And also, a leader is always finding many ways to make things happen. Always find ways to make things happen. If you don't make things happen, things will happen that you may not even expect. So these are the two key roles of leadership. And leader is a servant, to serve, not the boss.
Thus, leaders are the people who will wake up the tiger again and again,
Yes.
the learning tiger again and again. No?
Right.
Wake him up, rise tiger, and go to work. No?
Catalyst.
Catalyst for that. So,
And for me,
yes, sir.
leaders can facilitate learning in
Yeah.
two ways,
Yeah.
by sharing their knowledge and also by being open to creative ideas of the organization.
Thus, not creating silos of learning,
That's
not
right.
insisting on certain template all the time. No?
Because the organization can continually learn if there are open minds within the organization.
So the key is leaders makes a difference. Whether it's a country, company, Boy Scout, any organization or NGOs.
So I need to I need to get a bigger grasp on this.
Yes,
So you're
yes.
saying learning is happening all the time. Yeah.
Yes.
There are peaks of learning and there are valleys of learning. Leaders who are watching this happening must nurture the peaks. Yeah, wake them up again and not really be hard and fast about it. Allow the space, let them play, allow some action, like a little big shepherd who shepherds his sheep. That's what a learning professional must do, no? That's not this. And of course, he has to improve himself constantly. Is that a good wrap up on what we are trying to put on the table here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so great. So is there anything else that we must watch for? Any other thing that leaders, or are there any other success factors that
Yes.
will... Yes, sir.
All development starts from self-development.
Okay.
Unless the self-develop, nothing else develop. Okay. So self-development is the master key.
Which
for
teachers and
development.
professors usually
Yes.
practice, no?
Yes. Okay. So this is the key. And of course, there are certain pillars. You know, pillars like you must have the educate IQ.
Ah, okay.
You must have a good EQ.
Yeah.
And you must have the HQ, health quotient.
Right, right.
To be really successful, you must also have the FQ,
What is
financial
FQ?
financial quotient.
Oh, okay, you need the resources for it. Yeah.
Without financial quotient, you are enslaved.
Right,
You
right.
don't have
right.
freedom.
That's
So
a very good
FQ
point.
is very
Yeah.
important.
So
Then after FQ, then you have leadership quotient.
Right,
After that, you have the relationship quotient.
right.
Then you have adversity quotient.
Wow.
And finally, number 8, spiritual quotient.
That's a lot
That's
of
a
cues.
total success.
That's a lot
To
of
achieve
cues.
total success, you must have at least 8 pillars as your foundation.
IQ, EQ, SQ,
No,
HQ,
no.
intelligence, emotional, spiritual,
Health.
health.
Health is wealth.
Right.
Without health, don't talk about anything else. Then
And-
number 4 is financial. Leadership quotient, relationship quotient, and adversity
Adversity
quotient.
quotient, hard time.
How to rebound from setbacks and problems like a ball bouncing back fast.
We are very good at that in the Philippines. We are the best, no? We came back from Andok, we are coming back from Helen, and we are coming back from Hener, no?
Yeah.
So great. So I think that gives me a big and an in-depth picture on what the learning discipline is all about and the learning environment. Sir Turok, is there anything we need to add on the subject matter?
Yeah, I'd like to mention that talking about learning,
Yes, sir.
Ardo International is sponsoring a conference here in the Philippines.
Yeah, we mentioned
in
that,
Cebu
no?
at Radisson Blu.
They did.
And our theme is enriching borderless environment. Learn environment.
They did.
Enriching borderless learn environment.
Here we go. Can we focus in on this quickly? Zoom in. And we are going to invite the viewers,
Yes.
everybody who wants to be a learner. Yeah, doesn't have to be in the learning profession. The 39th Ardo International Leadership and HRD Conference, Enriching Borderless Learn Environment. That's a big word. It's a mouthful. Learning environments. Yeah.
We coined the word.
Learn environments. Wow. Okay, Sir Ardo, so what do they see here? And of course, you were the founder of this. Ardo,
Not really.
39.
I'm one of the pillars of the organization.
Right.
The founders are basically people like Blas Opley, the late Blas Opley,
Yeah.
who was the labor minister and chairman of ILO. You know, it was founded in '74 by 12 leading exponents of productivity organization in Asia as a founding organization. And today, we have expanded to 38 countries. This headquarters in Manila. And Mr. Bernardo Aglipay is the current
His son?
secretary. No, his brother.
Oh, his younger
The
brother.
former governor of Bulacan province and Director General Manpower. But it was Blas Aglipay and the Labor
initiated
Department who
this.
initiated this development of Ado International. And we bless his soul, Blas.
And so we'll see a congruence, a convention of all this in Cebu, November, what's it? You want to tell it? Yeah.
It's November 14 to 16. It's on blue.
Yeah.
For those interested, they can contact the Philippine Society for Training and Development
Yeah.
at
www.pstd.org.
or
Is that right?
email address secretary@pstd.org.
Yeah, you can tell that to the camera. Our time's not really up yet, no?
And they can call at 632 8129931.
Right. So let me summarize this for my viewers, no? So that means if you want to learn, you should always be wanting to learn. Yeah. Even if you don't want to learn, you'll be learning, but you'll be learning things that may not benefit you. But when you choose to learn as an individual, as an organization, or a country, then the quality of your learning improves, your performance improves. Is
That's
that a
right.
good summary? Yeah, okay. So on that note, I'd like to thank you very much for being on Expat Insights and sharing your wisdom and experience for the viewers, and of course for helping this country become a much better place. If there's anything now that you want to tell your friends, your colleagues, this is your moment. Dato over there on that camera.
I believe
Yeah.
the best is yet to come for the Philippines.
Yeah. Applaud on that, okay?
And my favorite song is Bayan Ko for
Bayan Ko.
Philippines.
Fantastic. Okay, Bayan.
So I hope all Filipinos sing this song
All right.
as much as possible.
Right.
That will arouse your spirit to be the burning candle rather than a painted candle.
Right. Well, God bless. Godspeed in that direction.
Great success for Philippines in the future, now and in the future.
I heard somewhere that we are actually wanting to be the hub for training in the Asian region. So Turok, you want to close with that?
Well, it has been our vision to be the hub of training in Asia for the past 5 years, and now this year we will be hosting the international conference in Cebu, and we are expecting more than 150 foreign delegates.
Now, altogether, maybe nearly 380 delegates. Altogether, yeah.
So we will be welcoming a lot of foreign
How much
delegates
does this
here.
cost? Oh, well, if you want to give them a discount, you want to invite people right now.
Well, I think they'll just have to
Look it up on the
contact
net.
Philippine Society for Training and Development, because there are a lot of rates, and depends on if they are PSTD members or non-members.
All right, so on that note, salamat
Thank
po.
you.
I don't know how you say salamat in Malaysian. How do you say thank you in Malaysian? Thank you for
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Yeah, I remember that. I was there last month. So terima kasih. Okay. So on that note, I'd like to end this interview with Dato Thomas and Sir Turok, and I'd like to share a little story about learning which I picked up. It's a story about a monk, a senior monk, who wants olive oil for his whatever he does, meditation, prayers, etc. So he goes to two of his assistant monks and he says, "Get me olive oil." So one of them goes, takes an olive seed and he plants it. And the other one also goes and plants an olive seed. The first one constantly watches the tree, constantly puts more sunshine, more water, more minerals and more fertilizers, and primes it and trims it. The other one leaves the seeds and forgets it. Yeah? Weeks later, months later, the senior monk calls both of them. He says, "Where is the olive oil I asked you for? What is the condition of your trees?" And the first one, who was priming and pumping and nipping and clipping the tree, says, "Sorry, monk, my tree died. I gave it way too much attention." The second one says, "I let the sun shine on its own, I let it rain, and I just watched it very casually. My tree is good, I'm going to bring you olive oil." So it makes sense for learning. I think there should be nurturing, but very little one.
Yes.
So on that
Let
note,
nature take its
let
course.
nature take its course gently. So salamat again. So thank you for watching Expat Insights. I hope you enjoyed the show. Next week on Expat Insights, we have two ladies. One is a lady called Michelle Washington and Marie Moya from MMQ, and they are going to talk about Le Cabaret, which is happening in September. Salamat and mabuhay. Have a great week ahead of you.